Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kayleigh Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Ashlie Bishop, who is a mindset and business coach. And in this episode, we are going to be looking at how you can run a successful business whilst also being a mum. Ashlie, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And I know that you've got one of your little ones there with you today as well. We're bringing the reality to the podcast. Who have you got with you?
So I've got Noah, who's 11 months old. So yeah, absolutely bringing mumpreneur to life today.
We're bringing the reality and the life to the podcast today, ladies. So let's talk about being a mum and running a business, because this is a pretty challenging thing to be able to do, and something that I know that a lot of people struggle with in terms of the balance. So let's dive into the life of a mumpreneur. So shall we start by talking a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to start your own business whilst also balancing motherhood?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when I started my business, so it was 5 years ago, really, when I started into entrepreneurship. I had my daughter, but I'd gone back to corporate working. So I was working 60 plus hours a week. Um, and it just wasn't sustainable. I wasn't seeing my daughter. I wasn't putting her to bed. I wasn't being able to go to any of the things that she had on, like nativities, or even if she was poorly, I had to get somebody else to pick her up. And, that reality hit that I'm mum, and first and foremost. So that really inspired me to want to start my own business, to be able to run the hours around me and my family. So essentially my biggest inspiration was my daughter. And obviously over the years, so that was when I first set up my marketing agency, and had over 10 people working for me in the end.
Yes.
And I actually sold that last year because, again, I was getting into this situation where it was, I'd created a job for myself as well as running a business, and I wasn't seeing my children again. So I was pregnant with my son, Noah, who sat with us today. And it started to become, well, do you know what? I love helping people. So that's why I started going into the coaching world. So that's where we are today.
Oh, amazing. And I know that you've been on a massive journey, an incredible transformation, or transition, should I say, transition from obviously running your own agency with a big team to obviously developing more as a business coach and a mindset coach, which I know as well has its challenges in itself. So what would you say have been your biggest challenges that you've faced as a mumpreneur, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, okay. So there's quite a lot of challenges. It's not been straightforward at all. But I saw this statement and I thought it was really true and really resonated. So mumpreneurs are women who are not only dedicated mothers, but also ambitious entrepreneurs. And I think that really resonated when I saw that. Yeah. So but along with that comes juggling. So juggling is my strength, I would say.
Yeah.
And trying to get that balance. So, to try and get the balance of spending your time with your children, growing your business, getting clients. So, that is the reality. So juggling, literally, as you said, you probably can hear him sat next to me. Literally, I'm having to watch Noah whilst I'm doing podcast recordings, and when I'm on lives and things like that, he comes along with me. I always joke and say that he's going to be the next Alan Sugar because he's in all my business meetings.
He's at your side every step of the way. I love this.
Absolutely, absolutely. But trying to find that right balance as well, that what is right for you. So for me, I have the balance of getting up early in the morning, and then I have the evening when the children are in bed. And I also have that little bit of time in the day, which I'm going to give some tips as we go through this. So that's kind of how I juggle my time. And, you know, I think the other thing to think about as well is overcoming self-doubt and finding confidence, which I think is super, super important, particularly for mumpreneurs, and to remember your worth and your value that you bring to both your business and to your families. And I think that's really, really key to sort of remember. And then I would say that one of the other biggest challenges is emotionally. Like, you know, from an emotion point of view, being a mum is hard, being a business owner is hard, and the two together, you know, it is, but at the same time, it is finding that balance. You know, there are days where my head feels completely full. But you know, there's days where I feel like, well, I can enjoy the summer holidays because I know that I've built this amazing business. And it's for my children. But you know, it's learning and developing strategies that help you to take developing learning strategies that work for you, work for your family, you know, and making sure that you're tapping into that emotion side and making sure that, you know, it's got to be right for everybody, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I always say as well with it, you know, being a mum and running a business, it is like having two completely separate full-time jobs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and that
Yeah.
juggle is hard. It is a challenge. It's a challenge for an awful lot of people. And I think when you're an entrepreneur as well, because you're the CEO of your own business, you know, you want to be always working on your business. You want to be growing the business. You want to be putting your time and your energy into that. And especially if you're a solopreneur, you know, and you don't have a team of other people, it's only you. So when you're juggling that also with being a mum, and
Yeah.
again, depending on how old your children are, I mean, my daughter's at school, she's 7, but I know as of this Friday, you know, as we're recording this episode, it's going to be the summer holiday. So I'm going to have her off for 6 weeks. So again, it's juggling the full-time position of being a mum and obviously the business. And it is, and it can be, you know, it can be challenging for many people.
Yeah.
So I know you touched a little bit there on managing your time effectively with running a business. Can you just give us a little bit more about that, of, you know, how you manage your time effectively whilst running your business and taking care of your beautiful children and your family?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the best thing that I've done is that on a Sunday night, I literally print off a timesheet because I'm quite old school. I love a highlighter and a pen. So I like to print it off, and everything from exercise to when I can have a bath. Not that I ever have a bath on my own, but you know, when you know, literally to when I can work, when I can send emails. I'm really specific as to what I do when I'm doing my time blocking. Because I am so busy. I have so many activities that my daughter goes to as well. So it's making sure that I'm blocking out every single opportunity that helps me to grow my business effectively. Um, sorry, he's
No,
having a bit
don't
of
say
a
sorry.
yeah.
He's our little superstar. He's our extra guest on the podcast.
um, so I would just say as well, so when I do the time blocking, that I think it's making use of all those little pockets of time to the best of your ability as well. So when you're sat in the car because your daughter's dance at a dance class, make sure you take the time to respond to messages, or when you cook when you're cooking dinner, listen to podcasts. You know, always learning and growing. It's just utilizing the time that you've got, because I think that the biggest thing that I hear, particularly from my clients, is that they have a lack of time,
Yes.
which they do, but it's what you do with the time that you've got to
Mm.
utilize it in the best way to make sure that you are continuing to grow.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. Some great advice there and tips in terms of how to manage that time. What about resources and support systems? Again, something that I think all mumpreneurs, in fact, all entrepreneurs should be tapping into. But in terms of you being a mumpreneur, are there any resources or support systems that have been really beneficial to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the key ones for me has been, well, networking.
Yes.
But meeting other mums, even like at mum groups and things like that. You know, I've met people at mum groups that had their own business, but finding networking groups too that allow for children to come along, because as a mum, we shouldn't be penalised as such to continue to grow our business just because we're meant to be off on maternity or because we've got our child at home. So I would say trying to find that support of other mums who are in business, who understand whether it's face to face, whether it's online, it's building that community and having those people that are surrounded by you, that are in the same situation. So building those connections and collaborations, and having somebody as well that you find that holds you accountable, I would say. So whether that's a coach, whether that is actually somebody who's in a similar situation to you, it's having that accountability, I would say, in terms of that support. And finally, I would say is automation. As a mum in business, having automation is absolutely key. So yes, it does take a bit of work up front to get it up and running, but once you've got that automation in place, it's incredible. It just saves so much time. By having, so when I say automation, I'm meaning things like social media posts. It could be your emails, it could be your funnels, lead generation, etc. So there's lots of things that you can do to help you to automate. But again, it gives you that opportunity to continue doing if you need some time off for your child, that your business is still running because you've got your automations in place.
Absolutely. And that saves people so much time and worry. And even if you're not a mum and you're listening to this podcast, automations are incredible, just so that you can switch off for the weekend or go away on holiday for a week, and that your business is still going to basically be running on autopilot whilst you're not there. But that's, again, some really great tips in terms of what you use for resources and support systems. I love the fact that you say accountability as well, and whether that is a coach or whether it's just someone that you can really, utilize. And potentially, I mean, I know a couple of my own clients, they have their own accountability partners and they work together and support each other. And I really like that concept. I think that's a really great way. And I mean, I definitely have my own friends in the online space as well, who we all hold each other to account as well. So I think that's a really, really great piece of advice there for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we talk a little bit about a typical day? Now, I know that for entrepreneurs, to an extent, our days change all the time. So, don't worry too much if you struggle to answer this question, but can you describe a typical day in the life of yourself and how you kind of juggle these various tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say on a typical day, I am an early bird. So I am the ones, when you see people online getting up at 5 o'clock and you're like, oh my goodness, that's me.
Yeah.
I absolutely love getting up at 5 o'clock because it's the only time of day that I can have a hot coffee, actually have it hot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the rest of the day, it's a lukewarm coffee. But it means that I know that I've got between sort of 1 to 2 hours before the children get up. So I really maximize that time of doing whatever it is that I need to do in my business at that time. So whether it's responding to messages, whether it's creating sales pages, whatever it might be, I use that time to be really focused on the tasks that I need to do. Then I get the kids up, then it's a school run, then it's nap time. And then when it's nap time, again, I utilize my time by listening to podcasts. But I also, again, just do a couple of emails. I'll make sure that whatever action points I've got from the day previous, I'll do in that time. I know that I've kind of got between an hour and an hour and a half. We then take the dog for a walk. Again, I quite often listen to my podcasts. But I don't know about you. I'm sorry, I'm slightly going off piste here. But when I listen to podcasts, it's just a tip really, is to have the notes open on your phone, because I get so many ideas when I'm dog walking. And then I think, oh no, I haven't got a notepad, or I haven't got some. So have your notes open. So yeah, I tend to listen to that. And then we go to play centre, mum groups, whatever we might decide to do. Then it's into picking up from school. But whilst I'm in the car waiting for her, I'll respond to messages. That tends to be my sort of 10-15 minutes. Then we go to activities. And again, I've got another hour in the car. And then it's kids to bed. And then between sort of the hours of 8 to 11 o'clock, I'll do some work again. That's kind of my 3 hours that I can really focus. And typically on a Sunday, I tend to have it as my planning day, because I know that my hubby's at home. He'll have the children. So I can really sort of plan and schedule things in. So things like social media, podcasts, whatever it is that I'm doing. So it's just my day of planning on a Sunday and scheduling. So yeah, that's a typical day.
Yeah, no, and it's great to hear, because I think everyone's days are different. And I think, again, just juggling that you know, being a mother and, you know, looking after your children, taking them to school, going to playgroups and all of these things. You know, we always want to prioritize our family and our children, of course, but at the same time, you're trying to fit in any possible opportunity. And I love the fact that you said there that even when you're, you know, sitting in the car for sort of 5 to 10 minutes waiting, you can use that time to respond to messages or maybe inquiries coming through or emails. And it's about maximizing that opportunity, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
in the reality, you know, some of the messages that we see on social media where you only have to work 1 hour a day in order to build a 7-figure business is just completely ridiculous. So I love your transparency there and saying that you're maximizing every opportunity because you're prioritizing your children and your family, but then you're also continuing to grow your successful business and you're utilizing every opportunity really to kind of do that. So, and again, it just goes to show that it's the hard work, it's the energy, it's the effort that we put into our businesses that will obviously get those results. So yeah, that's great to know. Let's talk a little bit about people or mothers who are considering starting their own business. And maybe those that are sort of very new to the entrepreneur journey, or maybe not even have started at all. Is there any advice that you would give to them as mothers?
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
Genuinely just go for it, because the thing is there's not a right time. So you know, I've heard so often from people that, you know, when the kids are at nursery or when the kids start school, I'll start it then, or
Put it
when
off, don't
it's
they?
always when, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
and there's not a right time. They'll never become where, you know, it's not going to, your child's not just going to start school and you're like, right, it's perfect timing now to do this. Actually, the small steps that you can take now will really benefit for when your children do start school. You know, so I would say genuinely just go for it. If it's something that you've wanted to do and you're passionate about it, you know, then I absolutely would say go for it. I think some of the things or the advice that I would sorry, he's just dropped his book on the floor. What I would say, and what I've really learned, and I'm still working on it, if I'm completely honest, is that the fact that when you're starting a business, your mindset. So
Yes.
80% is mindset, 20% is strategy.
Mm.
So to not focus on so much on getting a perfect strategy. Yes,
Yeah.
you do need a strategy, 100%, but you know, really try and work on your mindset as well,
Yeah.
and surround yourself with people, you know, who are already where you want to get to. And if you get yourself into that sort of circle of people that really sort of motivates you, and you know, you can see where you're going. And I would say as well, sorry. um so set yourself up for success. So in terms of establishing straight away like clear goals, creating like a solid business plan, implementing effective marketing strategies alongside working on your mindset as well. So I think these are sort of contributing factors for if you are wanting to start your own business. But ultimately, start making those small steps. Just start,
I
I
love
would
that
say.
advice. Just start, go for it. I think there are so many people that potentially procrastinate on an idea, or they're just like you said, they're waiting for that that right time. And you know, I'm sure we've all read it and heard it and seen so many people say it before, but there's no right time. Just go for it. Just go for it. Now is the time to try.
Yeah.
And unless you try, you never know. I love that. I love that advice. So a couple more questions, and I bless him, I can hear him. It's just it's an absolute pleasure to have another fabulous person on the podcast or guest on the podcast. Are there any strategies that you would recommend to support with maintaining a healthy work-life balance? Because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and obviously as well as a mum as well, trying to get that sort of work, that healthy balance. Um, but again, just going back to what I was saying before with the time blocking, you know, I try and make sure that at least 2 or 3 nights a week, I try and focus on some balance, not balance, some time for me. So whether that is having a bath or going to the gym or seeing friends, that, you know, when I do my time blocking, this is really key, and that's included in there. Um, you know, it's really easy to sort of fall into a trap of thinking, do you know what, I could just do with doing some more social media posts, or I could do with doing this. But actually, it's just so important to actually take care of your mindset, yourself, your well-being, and whatever that looks like to you, make sure that you say to yourself, even if you set yourself every single week, it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, for example, stick to it. Just really stick to having that time. Because it is really, really important, because we can just get into full on mum mode, action mode, and time just goes, doesn't it? So it's just having that dedicated time.
Absolutely. Dedicating your time blocking, whatever works for you. But I would 100% agree as well. And I think it's so easy to fall into the trap of doing one thing and focusing just on that one thing. And it's, again, we've got to make sure that we're balancing, we're keeping our priorities right up there, but at the same time, making sure you've got the right, certain times for specific things. That's great advice. So we're coming towards the end of the episode, and I would love to ask, what would be that final piece of advice that you could give all the mumpreneurs listening?
So I would say, so my final piece of advice really, so I've actually got two pieces. So the first one is, do what makes you happy. Do what, if you find your passion, and ultimately do what works for you and your family. So essentially, when you find something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it is so true. So if you've got a passion and you know that it, you want to start your own business, or, you feel like if you've got a passion and you want to just go for it and it works around you and your family, then I think that my final advice would be just to literally just bite the bullet, just go for it, have a go. So I would say that's one piece of advice. My second piece of advice is, when you're looking online, particularly, and you look at lots of digital, or the businesses that are in the digital world, and you start looking at, like, I think you mentioned it earlier, Kayleigh, didn't you, where you said, like, you can work 1 hour days and all that kind of thing, which is fine. But you've also got to remember that there's so many people online that are not mums as well.
Yes,
so people sometimes are not mums, which means they have more time. They do have more flexibility. We're a bit more limited in terms of what the time we do have. But as I've said, and hopefully you've got that message throughout this podcast episode, that it's what you do with that time, and it's maximizing that time. So yeah, so I would say those are my two pieces of advice.
Finish off the episode then. What's your one word of the year, Ashlie?
Expansion. So everything that I'm doing, it's expansion. So what can I do? What can I do to keep growing? What can I do to go even bigger, even better? So expansion beyond my limitations, beyond my hesitations, and beyond my fears. So that's my mantra for this year.
Oh, I love this. Thank you so much. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you as our fabulous guest on today's episode, Ashlie. Where can our listeners find and connect with you?
Yep. So I'm on socials. So Instagram, you can find me at Flamingo Business with Ashlie. And on LinkedIn, it's Ashlie Bishop. So come and say hi.
Make sure you go and give Ashlie a follow and go and connect with her. She is absolutely incredible at what she does. And thank you so much for everyone that's tuned into today's episode. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And I will see you again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur Podcast with me, your host, Kayleigh Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream 6-figure or multi-6-figure business, then head to our website now for more information, or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.